The content of this podcast is intended for those vague and may not be suitable for some audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
How we dreamed about a better life, holding you so close to me, in the backseat of your ride. We fell apart, thought we lost everything, just lost in a memory. And I sure hope you do remember me like I remember you.
Sorry for that moment of radio silence, folks. We had some technical difficulties getting on air initially. Welcome, one and all, to Good Morning Agni. I am Nodoka Hanamura, Queen of Battle for Boasts and Banter, joined by my co-hosts, Kirisame and Erik Mondrian. Today we will be beginning with a following statement regarding our departure last month. Due to the conflict in Ukraine, me and the studio Mira Group Media has our Studio Hanamura Mira Group Media had decided to withhold from airing Good Morning Agni episode 4 until next month, i.e. this month. And essentially, oh, for heaven's sake. Did it? Discorda. Anywho, technical difficulties and stuff aside, I would like to make the following statement and request to anyone who is watching. If you or anyone you know is residing currently within Ukraine or is a Ukrainian refugee or expatriate who would be willing to come onto the show and discuss the situation there with us, especially if you're a Second Life resident, primarily if you're a Second Life resident hailing from Ukraine, we would love to have you on and to discuss this. For your safety, I implore those who are interested not to come on or inquire if you are currently living in any of the active conflict zones like Mariupol, and the sort, due to, well, safety concerns. I'd rather you be more focused on your own safety and well-being and those around you than coming on to the show, in all honesty. Are we blue? Oh, great, we're blue.
And we're blue! Fits with such a depressing topic.
Unending technical difficulties aside, my heart and our hearts go out for those residents and those currently fighting and surviving in Ukraine, especially in Kherson, Mariupol, and all the other hero cities that are putting their lives on the line for not just their freedom, but for the freedom of a free Europe and the world. Slava Ukraini, Heryam Slava.
Here.
That out of the way, we will be discussing, starting today, with the discussion of sales tax being introduced to Second Life for all U.S. residents. I'm going to bring it up on screen now. as we fade to there. Ever since Second Life's inception 2 decades ago, we have seen many local, state, and federal governments impose new ways to collect tax revenue from internet-based businesses. The Wayfair sales tax case decision by the Supreme Court was when prior rules about sales tax really changed. Since then, we have done our best to shield our residents from these taxes as long as possible, but we are no longer able to absorb them. As of March 31st, 2022, we'll begin charging sales tax in the U.S. For the time being, we'll charge taxes only on recurring billings such as premium subscriptions and land fees. The amount of tax charged will be communicated clearly in the receipt or invoice. We will continue to absorb the taxes at point-of-sale purchases such as one-time LS buys, first-time premium subscriptions, and name changes. At some point in the future, we'll need to begin passing those taxes on to you. We'll make another announcement when those charges are phased in. Your individual charges will be determined by your local jurisdictions. There are more than 13,000 sales and use tax jurisdictions in the United States with great variation in the rules and tax rates. Tax amounts are also affected by other factors such as the type of goods and services being purchased. To determine the charges, we'll be relying on an automated third-party system which closely tracks local tax laws, so the tax amounts are always up to date. This is news we don't enjoy sharing, but for the health of the business and of Second Life, we can no longer continue absorbing these tax burdens. Thank you for your understanding and your continued support of Second Life.
So was Second Life in the U.S. residents, were they exempt from taxes up until now, or?
Technically, no. The reality
Oh,
is that Linden Lab, what people don't seem to understand and people are upset about is that they seem like, well, why do we have to pay it now? Well, the reality is that regardless of whether or not you're paying sales tax in certain jurisdictions, you still have to pay them regardless if it's online or in store or whatnot. And Linden Lab was really required to collect these taxes from residents, but what they've done instead, for the sake of longevity of the platform and trying to keep growth going for as long as they can, or sustain, well, I would say growth, but sustain the platform's growth by deterring people from sticker shock from, for example, buying simulators or buying simulator tax regions or buying land or paying for premium or tier. The taxes weren't charged to residents. Instead, Linden Lab would just not charge the residents for paying taxes and would just instead pay for the taxes themselves.
Yeah, they've been absorbing the cost.
Yeah. Which I have to say is very commendable of the lab that they managed to do it for this long. Because keep in mind, as it said in the statement, the Wayfair tax case, which was handled in the Supreme Court, I think it was, I forgot, let me just look it up. It was back in 2019, I believe. It is South Dakota v. Wayfair, 585 U.S., which was decided in 2018. Essentially, this case was a landmark case that kind of was a battle between online retailers and in real life local retailers, because the issue with online retailers is that they have over years drawn away income from those real world stores and whatnot, and local stores, small businesses, which a lot of these companies, a lot of these jurisdictions depend on sales tax from those businesses to survive. And the businesses and the states as well felt it wasn't fair that sales tax wasn't applicable to online purchases. So the state of South Dakota took Wayfair to court over them not paying sales tax, and essentially the courts, well, it wasn't a whole majority. According to this, 4 dissented and 5 agreed. Among the dissenting were Roberts, Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan. The majority of justices in the Supreme Court that ruled in favor were Kennedy, Thomas, Ginsburg, Alito, and Gorsuch.
And I have no idea who they are, for the most part.
Supreme Court justices.
Yeah, Supreme Court justices. Yes.
Mm.
Someone who lives in Portugal really probably doesn't know them from a hole in the ground.
I want to rebut that, but then I'm like, nah, you know what? I'll let you have that one. It's true.
Yeah. But in essence, this is going to. I don't really see this being that big of a problem for your average everyday Second Life user, at least for the time being. Unless they are heavily invested financially in Second Life when it comes to land ownership and that's pretty much it, because when it comes down to premium membership, sales tax, like example, I live in Kentucky. I live in northern Kentucky. Sales tax across the board here is 6%. So for every $1, I pay like 6 cents, 5 or 6 cents in sales tax. I recently did the math on how much I'd be paying to say Kentucky for taxes once month ends on my Second Life Premium in my tier, which is about $18.99 before tax. So it would come out to like 19 something or other. Actually, I think it'd be like $20. Not tax, but $20 total. It'd be like $1 something US dollars after taxes.
That's
of taxes.
not that much.
Yeah, it's not that much. But you have to keep in mind that not everyone lives in Kentucky, and every jurisdiction has different laws on what taxes will, how taxes will impact them, and depending on the jurisdiction, Second Life residents could suffer financially, may not be able to sustain, for example, land holdings in Second Life, and when and if Linden Dollar sales start to bite in to taxes, and Linden has to start taxing that. I think that it's going to come to the point where Linden Lab is going to face the dilemma of people aren't going to be able to, in some jurisdictions, aren't going to be able to afford to pay for as much as they used to, because the taxes will just eat into how much they're putting in.
Fortunately, there is a solution. There's actually 2 solutions that I just came up with now. One is, of course, the very famous and somewhat illegal tax fraud, and the other is just move to Portugal.
We've already gotten in trouble with that once, apparently, if memory serves me right. Let's not engage in that again.
Okay, the second one.
Eric, wasn't Linden Lab accused of tax fraud like years ago?
Oh, I don't remember.
I remember something involving taxes involving
If
Second Life.
if you guys,
it probably was a resident or something. Actually, never mind. But regardless, let's not invite the IRS to give all of Agni a nice firm fucking, shall we? I already have to deal with them whenever I have to file a W-4 when I get a new job. So
okay,
yeah.
You heard it here, folks. Just move to Portugal, and you'll stop paying the U.S. tax. It's
Can
that
I sleep on
easy.
your couch today?
yeah, and instead you have to pay VAT.
Well, that's the thing. I was going to say. I remember with I think it was Ryan Schultz who was talking about this last year sometime, or maybe the previous year. I can't keep track of the years anymore. About the VAT in Canada making like the name change. You know how you pay like $40 US dollars, I think, and then the exchange rate, and then the VAT on top of that. meant it was like almost double, I think he said at the time, when he wanted to change his
Double?
last name.
Right? What? No.
It was high. It was very, very high. So I think
Okay, never mind. Fuck me then.
I personally believe that at least for Linden dollar transactions, that Linden Lab, I think the best scenario to reach a middle ground to mitigate the issues that would arise from this is to try and possibly add on like like I wouldn't say, like find out how much residents in total pay in sale tax over a year. Like for instance, we'll just go with like having Linden dollars added on tax for a year. And then after that year, assess how much everyone is paying, and see if we can just levy a base tax fee for all residents that's flat, independent of regulations, and like it's at a graduated percentage, so that Linden Lab at the end of the day can just give that money to state governments, and if there needs to be adjustments, then it can be made every fiscal year. I mean, that's the way I could see it happening to try and mitigate it, because I can't help but look at this and see that there's going to be a genuine problem with Second Life in terms of financial stability in the coming months and maybe even a year, because not just because of this tax decision, but for many issues that are going on right now. The energy crisis that is causing energy prices to skyrocket, fuel prices to
Fucking gas
skyrocket because of the war in
crisis. Yeah.
Ukraine, um, sanctions on Russia. Like there's an unending list of fucking problems.
Oh yeah. Now,
And it
I
always
don't want
seems
to get
like
political,
SL and
but
other
I just want to
places
ask.
get fucked in the
Oh,
or get always end up getting fucked in the process, and it honestly just irritates me. But what can you do?
now that you
Um,
mention Russia, I just want to ask: are people in Russia still allowed in Second Life, or have they gone on the sanction bandwagon as well? Like this is just the only
odds
thing I'm
are,
gonna
in
ask.
reality, they're likely still able to access Well, it's down to two issues. If and they're most likely unable to buy Linden dollars. That is for certain, because um, payment uh, service providers have effectively blocked
Yeah,
international transactions with Russia. So
yeah, like
no one
PayPal
can get
stuff.
their Lindens. PayPal, Skrill, um, MasterCard, Visa, American Express. Um, all of those cards have just ceased operations in Russia.
Yeah, exactly.
And if Roskomnadzor, the Russian state censor, hasn't blocked Second Life already, then I can already expect that there's going to be a lot of Russian residents who are going to be unable to access Second Life. We have, on that note, though, it's probably going to end up being that people are going to be fleeing Russia in droves, because I've been hearing reports that IT people have been reportedly supposed to be leaving Russia in what has been called one of the biggest brain drains in modern Russian history. Um, this is just disaster for all parties involved. But we have a dedicated episode for this whole discussion coming up in 2 weeks. But for now, let's try and stay on topic.
Yeah, let's stay on
Um,
topic and not divulge into geopolitics. I'm sure that's
yeah,
not what our viewers would expect from us. At least
yeah,
not now.
yeah. Um, SL19B. I mean, we've already discussed sales tax pretty much all that we really could.
Mhm.
All I can really say is for residents, be ready for a little bit of sticker shock on your tier payments, depending on your jurisdiction. Um, And if you don't like what's happening, as I said regarding the Gotcha Band video I posted several months ago, back in October, if you don't like how sales tax is calculated for things like Second Life and the sort, write your representatives in Congress, your state legislatures or in the federal legislature. That's really all you can do is just make your voice heard.
Yeah, and just one.
Exactly.
Oh,
Sadly, outside of Linden Labs' control, and the fact that they've been able to cushion the cost for about 4 years, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, is genuinely impressive, and I have nothing but gratitude for Linden Labs' financial department and whatnot for making that decision, because it certainly has helped keep us afloat in some degree.
indeed.
Clearly certain that it would have been worse had we had to pay for taxes outright on everything.
And just one comment. I'm not sure if you touched on this or not, but obviously this isn't just a Linden Lab thing with Second Life. I mean, it seems like governments, especially the U.S., is trying to put more and more regulation in all kinds of like online transactions, including cryptocurrencies and regulations related to that. So it's obviously it's disconcerting for people in Second Life who are kind of struggling to get by and have this new cost added, but it's something that is happening across the board with governments and virtual currencies in general.
Yes, and it's genuinely frustrating to see that people's it just irritates me. At least with SL, because what I don't know. It's just, on one hand, we do deserve to pay some kind of tax on our services, but on the other hand, with some of the shit I see around here going on in Kentucky and especially in Ohio, since they can't be arsed to fix the fucking roads, for example, and the fucking traffic lights here in Kentucky are a goddamn joke, it makes me wonder why in the hell I pay sales tax in the first place, since it seems to be doing nothing of fucking use whatsoever. But that is besides the point. Let's move on to our next topic. Something actually a lot brighter.
Yeah, something more happy.
SL19B, according to Linden Lab, will be starting effective June 23rd. Or actually, it will be held from June 16th to July 5th. And will be a steampunk-themed event. 3 weeks of fun-filled live music, performances, shopping, and amazing community exhibits. Right now, for those of you who are musically inclined, there is Linden Lab is accepting applications until April 10th for Music Fest. There's also performances like for DJs and the sort, or dance companies, or anything of the sort that is whatever would fit with Linden Lab. They have applications for performers as well that we needed by May 8th, 2022. There are also other opportunities such as exhibitor volunteers and merchants that'll be available on the blog at community.secondlife.com/blogs. SL19B, it feels like we're just getting so close to the 20th anniversary, and I am just so excited for that as well as for SL19B.
On one anniversary, SL can finally drink.
I mean, the interesting thing
because
about
you Americans, I still don't understand how you Americans think 21's the drinking age. Just do 18. Like the rest of the world.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is, like, SL is technically older than that. I mean, they had alpha in 2001, 2002, public beta, or not, a beta in like 2002, 2003.
Yeah,
and released
but
in
like
2003 officially, so it's actually older. And Linden Lab itself
yeah,
was
but
founded
if
in
we counted
1999.
the beta, then certain games would already be like technically released, but nobody calls a beta or an alpha like the full release. So
True. I mean, if you look back though at like Linden World, I mean, SL has been around for over 20 years now.
Yeah, yeah. But
but yeah,
on the
you were
topic of
saying,
the
Nikki,
event
leave it to the
itself,
Portuguese rabbit.
yeah, leave it to the Portuguese rabbit to talk about drinking alcohol. At
Hey,
18 years old.
we Portuguese live for two things: death and partying. And partying can
Death and
either
taxes.
mean getting shit faced, or just having a nice drink on the porch and yelling at kids.
Okay. On the topic of SL19B, apparently it is a apparently it's gonna be steampunk themed. I'll be honest.
You
I'm
don't dig.
excited for the event, but I'm not really one for steampunk.
Yeah, you don't dig steampunk.
I really never really cared for it. Cyberpunk.
Oh god, my internet's dying.
Cyberpunk. Fuck yes. Cyberpunk missed me with that shit. That's not to say that I'm not happy for those who are excited for the event being steampunk themed, and it's more power to them. Though I do hope that they have a lot of offerings in terms of shopping that isn't exclusively steampunk themed.
Yeah.
Have some nice things from all over the spectrum of offerings from Second Life, from roleplay to casual to formal to exotic to other themes such as cyberpunk, latex.
The problem with the steampunk is that most people think nowadays like, oh, just slap a bunch of cogs and goggles and there you have a steampunk outfit. That's not really it. I still need to dabble in like the genre proper. But even like,
on top of that, I don't think that steampunk really resonates with people, because steampunk is usually associated with eras of time like the 1910s, the 1920s, 1900s, and those are almost, if not, or those are about or even over a century ago, which
mankind can only look at two things: the past and the future. There's no in between. Oh god, my internet. Oh no, it starts.
Is your internet okay?
What do you call the present? Why do we talk about the present then, genius?
I mean, we talk about the present, but sometimes it's mostly just depressing shit. You see it online all the time. People on Twitter like, "Oh no, I hate it here. I want to be. I wish I wish I was back in the 2010s or in the early 2000s. Things were so much better."
Just a thing about the steampunk thing, by the way, though, that
Yeah.
I did see on the community forum, the SL community forums, like some people were like really excited about it, and some people were more like you, Nikki, where they were like, yeah, I don't know. But one of the, I forget who it was, but one of the moles or Lindens possibly chimed in and said, this is obviously, not required. People aren't required to decorate or do things.
You're not required.
It's just like a suggestion if you feel like having something to design to, like a theme to design toward, but it's not required in any way.
Yeah. And that's what should be pointed out. You are not being held at gunpoint to dress up in cogs and Victorian outfits. If you want to just wear a shirt saying, I don't know, I'm with stupid, and have your friend cosplaying a steampunk character, you can do that. It'll be fun.
We also have this is since we're going to continue discussing events that are coming up. Ever lusted after Fantasy Fair is coming up next month on April 21st. I remember going there, and it was actually just a blast. Going there with Sarah, my CEO, my Mirai, executive officer for the SL division. Sarah and I just had a blast going there and having just a ball, shopping around, looking at all the things on offer, and seeing all the beautifully designed areas that were like I'd never seen such care or detail put into a shopping event like Fantasy Fair. It genuinely is just exciting time in the spring months for Second Life. And again, and I don't know if anyone knows this enough, but it's the proceeds from the event seem to go to Relay for Life. So if anyone is interested in contributing
To charity.
to the charity for cancer research, excuse me, contributing to research towards cancer or assisting those with cancer, Fantasy Fair is the place to do it. It'll be going from April 21st to May 8th. In 2021, they earned 23 million Linden dollars, which came out to about 95,000 US dollars, which is genuinely impressive and really goes to show the capability of Second Life to come together for a good cause that not just helps us get clothing, but clothing and shit, but for fuck's sake, it helps out people in much more need than us.
It just goes to show that like online communities have the power for good. As much as I look at Twitter with disdain, and then I see porn and I think, ooh, nice, maybe Twitter is not so bad. Here is like, yeah, Second Life is cool, but also they raise.
Is that all you talk about? Is that all you look forward to is porn?
I mean, when you're on Twitter, yes. It's porn and memes.
I post my fair share, but for fuck's sake, right?
Look, I have lost my job. I have almost nothing to live for.
No, don't say that, Rui.
Next episode, I'm not here.
Rui, no.
No, I kid.
But
Good
making
Morning,
sense
Agni
for
does not support notions of self-deprecating feelings or suicide. Oh, yeah, self-harm. Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, the Fantasy Fair, like
Self-deprecating
Nikki said,
is fine.
is an expression of generosity on the Second Life residents' part.
Yeah.
Especially since so many people have been affected by cancer and by, like even Xander Green, the founder, he lost his father to it. He talks about it in the Drax Files Worldmakers videos. So I think a lot of the organizers, it's a very personal event for them.
Yeah.
Understandably so.
Any other discussion about SL19B or Fantasy Fair?
I'll probably attend.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'll be attending, and I'll be bringing Sarah along. I'll drag her by her cat tail. Maybe Erik too, if he's interested.
Oh, I'll definitely be there. I love always going to like some years I don't manage to get to a lot of Fantasy Fair, not Fantasy Fair, SL19B. Wait, are we talking about Fantasy Fair or SL19B?
I'd say both.
Oh, both. Okay. Well, I was going to say specifically for SL19B, one of the things I always tried to do at the SLB events is to go to the Meet the Lindens talks that Safia hosts.
I've tried to actually go. I went to the SL19B or SL18B Meet the Lindens discussion explicitly for the purpose of asking questions and trying to drive home concerns that me and other residents have had to Lindens and seeing if they'll actually try and get shit done. And so far they seem to be dead set on it, but they're making slow progress. Like for instance, they've mentioned that they're working on trying to get Vulkan integrated into SL. They're apparently working on physics-based rendering, and I hope that'll come with some optimizations down the line as well. Because I know that's probably going to require them to rework part of the rendering pipeline to integrate PBR. And I'm probably, if my schedule permits, I'm going to probably do that next. I'll probably do that this during SL19B as well. And try and see and hopefully get some other good questions in from my fellow residents as well towards the Lindens. Because it's always an interesting time at the Meet the Lindens events because you get a lot of different perspectives on things, a lot of different interesting questions, some that I actually never thought about. But off of the topic, and on to the next one.
Before we go, I'm just gonna say, yeah, I'm planning on attending because it seems fun.
Okay, cool.
I might spend something to help with charity and such, but don't quote me on it.
Okay. Well,
I think that was going to say one thing. Oh, sorry.
we'll probably all come to SL19B, all three of us from the show. If anyone wants to come by, I'll probably make an announcement about where we'll be and how long we'll be at. If anyone wants to stop by and say hi. Until then, we'll move on to the next topic.
Can I just mention one thing? I was going to say that Mojo Linden, the engineering VP at Linden Lab, I think this will be the first year he'll be at, because he just started, I think, sometime in like late summer, early fall last year. So it'll be interesting because this will be his first chance to get interviewed in that kind of setting.
Mm-hmm. And I am looking forward to seeing him. I really, really am. Today, well, let's move on to the next subject. I know we're kind of speed running these topics, but we're
It
gonna
has
try not to
been
go
like a
too
slow
much. So
month. It has been a
yeah,
slow month for all of us.
it's been a slow past 2 months. A lot of news hasn't really come through about SL. I've been monitoring stuff, and other than
Yeah.
SL19B and a few other things, it's been mostly quiet that I've heard so far.
And we can only go so far before I go off my rocker and start shitting on how our NFTs are bad and how quick they are dying and how happy I am. So, like
Anywho,
yeah,
continuing onward before Rui drives us off track for the umpteenth time. The second,
I can't help it. I'm a
Flickr
crackhead.
situation. Oh, for fuck's sake. Anywho, recently Flickr made some changes to terms of service that will be negatively impacting Second Life residents who are not subscribed to their premium service. First of all, they are limiting uploads to, I think, like 50 private uploads per account. And they are effectively restricting NSFW content and moderate content from being posted on Flickr unless you have a premium account, which it irritates me to see some of my Second Life residents complain about the NSFW content that goes on in SL, and it just frustrates me to no end, and I know there's a bias with me because I'm known for being a sexual deviant
You
in
honestly.
SL, but the thing is that why are we shitting on other residents for doing what they want to do with their pictures of SL? And like some people say, well, it just adds to the image that SL is just about sex. Well, isn't it your job as someone who's posting non-lewd stuff to do the same exact fucking thing?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
To do that exact fucking thing and show the world what SL is capable of, what SL is able to do.
Yeah, the diversity of it.
Yes, like SL isn't just about sex for fuck's sake, and you're not helping things by shitting on the people who are posting about it. Like you're just you're just driving people away.
What's that quote again? Be the change you want to be in the world, or something like that.
Yes, and you also
Yeah.
shit on people who are doing what they're doing. It's not violating the TOS. It's not doing anything
Yeah.
inherently wrong. If you don't like it, don't fucking look at it.
Also, I already said this in like. Oh, go on.
I want to try and keep continuing on pace,
Okay.
Strawberry Singh posted as part of her Holi celebrations, which I think is some kind of Indian Hindu holiday, I believe. Which, regardless, if you practice it, happy Holi.
Good on you.
Get some teal and purple in your life, along with the other ones, huh? On the topic of Flickr, Facebook and Instagram do not allow adult images. Okay, so essentially, what Strawberry Singh discussed in this post is let me go to the studio real quick and bring up. Actually, let me just go to the live feed. Post.
Oh man, Flickr. I'm like I already said this to you before the podcast went live, but I'm surprised people still use that.
It's very, very popular with residents.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I talked about how Orkut was a big thing in the early 2000s, and then after 2010, I just stopped hearing about it. Like, stopped seeing it being advertised and stuff. So to see like one of the old social media that's not, you know, the big two or three if you want to count YouTube as social media for some reason, um, it's jarring to say the least. Like I get the shotgun blast of like boomer infused energy onto me. It's like wow, it's that old.
Mm.
You got
So
the thing?
far, what I've got, at least what Strawberry Singh has posted. I keep getting dropped from the call for some reason. Anyway,
Maybe it's me. It's a
according
Portuguese
to
curse.
Strawberry Singh, we have the following alternatives that she's aware of: Twitter, Plurk, Elo, New Tumble, and apparently a few social networks that Aphius Kwan has put together. Social VR, Pixel VR, and a newer one that's called Orbisidia.
Obsidia? Obsidia?
And
Can't.
then there are two others, DeviantArt and Snapzilla. DeviantArt, apparently had a rough history of Second Life content a while back. And obviously, there's a lot. Obviously, everyone knows that porn is prevalent. Porn is prevalent on DeviantArt. So,
Definitely.
I mean, I personally have decided to go with DeviantArt because that's probably the best, most public, next best option. I know people will probably say, "Well, why don't you try Plurk or try Elo?" And I'm like, I don't. I looked at Plurk and it just seems like going to Plurk right now. It just, I just don't like it because it just, I don't know. It doesn't really. Please, Lord, don't tell me that they're putting porn on their fucking front page. Because if I get control of Google, I'm gonna have a fucking shit fit. But I don't know. It's just that with Plurk, I don't really. It doesn't really look up my alley aesthetics wise, and I don't really want to bother with it, especially since, like with Flickr, I want to use. If I'm gonna upload my pictures somewhere, um, I'm gonna upload it to a dedicated picture storage location. I'm not gonna upload them to Twitter. I mean,
Exactly.
I have done that for some things like my fan work projects and whatnot, but
Yeah.
for everything related to SL, more often than not, I will want to store them on a dedicated photo sharing site. And DeviantArt seems to be the next best option. I don't want to be limited by stupid head and ass fucking limitations that are, we need to make sure the profitability of our platform. How about you just enable ads or do some kind of monetization with data?
Or better yet,
Because
if people are complaining about unsafe work images in Flickr, just put a filter.
that's not the problem, Marie. The problem is that they're doing it to appease investors and try and make it so they can sustain the operation.
Okay, so I'm being dumb.
Well, and the
Those
other thing,
fucking
like Nikki said,
investors,
if you're
man.
using Twitter, I mean, I've actually seen a lot of new residents on Twitter, like SL residents on Twitter.
Yeah.
I guess in like the Flickr Exodus, but of course, as like a photo sharing site, like you said, it's not really. I mean, things get lost in your feed. Like it's not a dedicated place to post images.
Yes, exactly. It's not viable for storing images. Um, which brings me to the next topic. regarding excuse me, yawning. Social media and Second Life. We're gonna start this topic off with the following post by Soft Linden, who is the head of information security at Linden Lab, and is actually known for being a very one of the more vocal Linden Lab employees. What if the Second Life profile feeds were replaced with an open source Twitter lookalike like Pleroma or Mastodon? But people use them But people use them more. Would having their Twitter-like mobile apps available be appealing? To be clear, no one is working on or discussing this. I'm thinking out loud. I do sometimes wonder if we're missing opportunities by rolling our own. Even if we turned off the federation options, these offer rich and very modern social media experiences. Maybe there's an opportunity for a Pleroma or Mastodon developer to make a pitch. Or do any of them already offer a managed service? Right away, nearly all these apps would work for browsing media, sharing text posts, and commenting, and that's just for phone. Many of them are open source. You can make the Firestorm of SL Social on mobile. And he shows things like Amarok, Doodoo, Fetty, Mastodon, iMask, Librem, Mercury, Oyakodon, Orez, Social Hub, Stella, Toot Toys, stuff like that. Both have also improved scalability beyond the size of Linden user base with fairly modest posting footprints. And as I posted down below, I mean, let me just actually clarify on it in detail. I have been in Second Life for 7 going on 8 years. It'll be 8 years
That's a lot.
starting. Yeah, it's a very long time. The reality of the matter when it comes to social media and Second Life is that residents are overwhelmingly separated and don't really interact with each other in a conventional way as like you would expect in real life, for example. You have people who are communicating on Facebook. You have people who communicate on Twitter. But there's an overwhelming overlap between these two. There needs to be a modern, adaptable, and versatile tool set for social interactions in Second Life, both in and outside of the platform. And let me pull up. The thing is that the best idea for a virtual world platform, social media system,
Oh no.
is, I would say, Avatar Book, which I'm going to put up on screen now.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. We have photos. My scroll wheel is a buggy mess. We have the activity stream, marketplace, groups, recent videos, polls. Like, it seems a little convoluted, and there was an older version that looked a lot better, aesthetics-wise. Like, you had a sidebar here that was a lot nicer than what this was like. It kind of looked like older Facebook.
Oh yeah.
And I know people will point and say, "Oh well, Facebook is full of boomers." And like, here's the thing:
the design changed a lot.
Say what you will about Facebook, like at least old Facebook style and what it featured and what its UI and UX were like would be perfect for Second Life. Integration with groups, integration with events in world, integration with with user profiles, group profiles, integration with the SL map system. I like where do I even begin? Not even integration with the fucking marketplace. There are multiple opportunities, and I have to say that Linden Lab is missing out big time. by failing to do this.
Yeah, I see your point. Because it's kind of like. Okay, nah. I'm better shut up before I get derailed again. But
Like, we have events listed here publicly. I mean,
mm,
the UI is a little bit of a mess, but it's still
it's readable enough.
it's as a concept, as a proof of concept, it is absolutely viable in terms of what Second Life and Second Life should have for terms of social media. And what do we have for an integrated social media solution?
Nothing. Do we have?
Second Life?
Yeah, my
Oh
Second Life
no.
doesn't work very well.
Which is an atrocious,
Oh
complete fucking mess. And this is just at face value.
man, imagine having a social media that can't work. That
It
must
doesn't work
suck.
well at all. It doesn't work well at all.
Oh god, that fucking interface is so bad.
There's no kind of sorting by interests. There's
Yeah, like when you were like kind of criticizing.
finding interests. There's no ability to find groups. There's no ability to interact with groups in like a group page. There's no,
Yeah.
it just begs the question: what is Linden Lab doing?
Well, and it's so
Because-
disconnected from like the place pages too. I mean, they have the place pages which no one really is used.
And that makes things worse. It's so convoluted and segregated, and it genuinely irritates me that no one at Linden Lab seems to have gotten a memo about this yet. I mean, for fuck's sake, this is what 19, 20, 21 years on of Linden Lab's operations, and they haven't noticed that other social media platforms do not do this. I know this is apples to oranges, but they could at least try and apply different things that those platforms have learned over the years. But no, we're seeing this.
It's like they did My Second Life, and then they just forgot about it.
That's
And
exactly what's happened, and it
yeah.
hasn't seen much for updates in years. And Linden Lab wanted to replace the conventional in-world, in-viewer profile pages with this.
Oh no, that sounds like an awful
But then
idea.
the interesting thing is they're actually moving back towards like Firestorm still has, and some viewers still have like the legacy profiles, which work a lot better in many ways.
Profiles in SL. Look at. I just picked out a random one. Nope. Nothing against Zada. Nothing against Zada. This is nothing but what they have in their profile. Nothing against what they have posted. I'm just showing this in terms
Oh
of
god,
UI
my
and
internet.
UX. This does not. This is no. There's no mention of groups. There's like no mention of interests outside of the biography, showing if payment info is used. Like, why is that relevant? Why is payment information relevant?
But they're bringing back the legacy profiles. Like they have a project viewer, I think, even for the official SL viewer, that they are going to be moving back to it.
But the thing is that's just moving backwards. I mean, I like the legacy profiles too, and even if we did have the new Facebook style profile system and whatnot, and social media system for Second Life, we would not have this issue. I'm sorry. I have those moments where I speak out my ass and don't think of what I'm talking about.
Oh, I do those all the time.
Even if we had the system as I wanted it, I would still personally prefer to have legacy profiles show up first and let me move over to see their profile on the website just like I can right now.
You want to have the option for both.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we have an issue here where it seems like no one at Linden Lab seems to understand what we as a community need in terms of social interaction, because right now we are in a situation where people are using avatar accounts on Facebook, which are likely to get banned because of Facebook's real name policy.
Wait, they have a real name policy?
Yes, they
Facebook
require
does, yes.
all users use their real name, and they can't be using. Yeah, it's bullshit. But welcome to Facebook's idea of moderation. Take a fucking number.
I never I've been using Facebook for like a long time before I just quit. I never knew that was a thing. Then again, nobody reads the terms and conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Off that note, there are Second Life residents on Twitter, overwhelmingly, which I found it a lot easier to interact with people on Twitter, but as I stated before, Twitter lacks the feature set and the capabilities to really work for Second Life residents, as well as a dedicated SL social media platform would.
Yeah. There's Discord, which a lot of people have used for events and things.
But that again doesn't really work to supplant a social
Yeah,
platform.
No, exactly.
It tends to the instant messaging needs outside of the platform itself, but it doesn't solve the issues of
the overall issue.
management, interaction with the world proper, and stuff like that. It doesn't really solve that problem. And honestly, were it not for the fact that I have no skills in the field whatsoever, I would gladly take on a contracting job with Linden Lab, my social security be damned, if they'd pay me well enough. I would gladly provide advice and say what could be done about implementing a social media platform for SL. Because my SL doesn't fit, what Soft is suggesting doesn't fit, and the current situation we're in right now, where everyone's on every other platform and some people aren't even interacting with the community at large at all, is not a good thing. Now, I'm not saying that Second Life residents should be isolated to just the SL user space, but I think that there should be a common hub for all Second Life residents to be able to interact and do things with each other. And if they choose to interact with the outside world and communicate with residents outside of SL on topics outside of SL, like I have, then on Twitter, for example, then by all means that should be something that they should be able to do. But we need some kind of hub. My SL doesn't do it. Mastodon won't do it. Purin or whatever the fuck it's called, Plurin or what is it that Soft suggested? I forgot the name.
Pleroma,
I think it is. Pleroma,
I will
yes.
know.
Neither Pleroma or Mastodon really serve the valid purpose. And I don't see either of them being viable unless they were to be extended out well beyond their intended use case. And even then, it's at that point you might as well just build something from the ground up, and I don't think it would cost that much to do.
Oh, Nikki Sleepy.
Very funny, smartass. But anywho, as I was saying before I was yawning and rudely interrupted by the bunny rabbit who needs to drink his fucking vodka. I don't think it would be that expensive to get that sorted out. I mean, I would say put like 3 or 5 people at most on an HTML, and then 1 or 2 people on backend. Like doing like engineering team, like have 1 or 2 people from the engineering team and 5 people who are experienced with HTML, be it already at the lab or contractors for a short-term project. Put together a Facebook or something like Avatar book, and that you have all these features that are capable of being are integrating with SL in world, such as for events, for place pages, group pages, photo galleries for users. Which I think actually photo galleries would probably solve the issue. And Linden Lab could probably implement a lot more premium features. Like, say you would be limited to like 500 photos that you could upload to the Second Life social platform, and with premium, you would get like 10,000 photos, I think. And with like premium plus, you could probably get like 100,000 or something. I don't know.
I mean, I think
But, I mean, there's obviously monetization options for Second Life to make it worth their while, but that comes with this project. And it's definitely possible that Linden Lab has the staff to do this. They just need people to put together a system connected to the Second Life grid through the appropriate API interfaces and whatnot on the back end, and essentially start beta testing it with the public, and then gradually bring more and more people in to stress test it, and then eventually you'll have, excuse me, fucking mouse. Jesus Christ,
I mean, I think some things would be helped by what they're working on. I guess is the mobile viewers. It's not like social media, but I mean, if people could actually communicate.
Obviously, we would need this social media platform to be a vital component of whatever mobile app that they use. I mean, people are expecting a fully fledged Second Life client, and
that's not gonna happen, I think.
And I've talked about this time and time again. That's not technologically feasible, unless you want to turn your phone into a fucking hot pocket. No, unless you're running a top of the line phone like I am, like a Google 6 Pro. That's
Hot pocket,
not
more like
happen.
landmine. Fucking incendiary grenade. Or you just boot up and the thing catches fire. Straight up.
That is a very likely outcome, unfortunately.
Yeah,
like my phone gets hot just by playing, like a video on YouTube. Imagine what that would do to my phone.
Yeah, this
Jesus
isn't
Christ.
like fucking Genshin Impact or any other of these 3D applications on phones. Second Life predates. Second Life's rendering pipeline, and Second Life's entire code base predates the concept of modern ARM CPUs, let alone smartphones.
Now I just thought about like having a Second Life client on a fucking flip phone. Oh boy, what's the coding term for it?
What term?
Just like a chat room. I was going to say IRC chat room, but
IRC.
IM would instant messaging, access to inventory for inventory management, access to marketplace, the ability to buy Linden dollars, the ability to interact with the social media network system, or SNS.
Just like small things, but for a flip phone, and I was like, is my memory good in? Just like one of those 2000 flip phones, like a Motorola or something.
A feature phone, yeah.
Yeah. I call them flip phones because,
Yeah,
anyway,
it's called feature phones, but
like that would be interesting, but then I was like, would that even catch on?
I mean, people I see people talking about the mobile app, and they point at IMVU, and they look and they tell me like, "Well, why can't we do this?"
Wait,
IMVU do this. IMVU, like, here's the issue with IMVU is that IMVU is a lot simpler than Second Life. It's
that too. Man, I didn't thought the IMVU had a mobile app.
It does, to the chagrin of anyone for Brainstem.
I thought IMVU died.
No, it's still around.
You would not be blamed for having that line of thought, Ray. I thought for the longest time, up until like 2 to 3 years ago, the IMVU was dead.
Like people, like I actually before the podcast, I was like, wait, if Second Life is 19, how old is IMVU? And then first thing I typed was IMVU is this. The result. Oh, IMVU dead was the second one. The first one was IMVU so toxic. And I just sat there and I thought to myself, how the fuck is IMVU like something that, as you said, is simpler than Second Life, be considered toxic?
Good question.
Then again, humans be human.
Mm-hmm. So, to wrap up today's episode, I think we'll discuss just a roundtable topic of SL related subjects.
Yo. Rapid fire hour.
Like for the next 15 to 30 minutes. I
Mm.
think all in all, the next year for SL will be a very interesting one, to say the least. Not just because of the war that might impact our economy, but due to how possibly sales taxes in the States will impact the economy and changes to things like tier and whatnot. We also have Premium Plus that's supposed to be coming out later this month, or at least be announced later this month. I've heard all sorts of rumors of what it's supposed to include, like an increase in tier, paying for, or an increase in stipend, all sorts of other different features. What would you all guys want to expect or want from a Premium Plus subscription?
I wouldn't know because even though I am the designated Second Life newbie, I haven't been in Second Life long enough to develop a longing for features that I want to see included. So I believe this question just goes into
Me and Erik.
yeah. It just relies on you two.
Yeah. All right. What do you think about all this, Erik?
I don't know. I think like I haven't really thought so much about like premium plus features that I'd like to see happen. Like my thoughts tend to be more along the lines of what would I'd like to see happen with SL in general. Not necessarily things that would be limited to people paying, but I'm more like thinking about, oh, what improvements would I like to see come to the grid? What changes would I love to see, take place in Second Life as a whole? So I don't know. I haven't really thought so much about other Premium Plus features. I don't really know what they're going to be doing, but yeah, there's rumors, like you said, abound. But I guess we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What about you?
Disconnect for some reason.
Is your internet okay? You've been disconnecting a lot this episode.
I have no idea why it's doing this.
Fucking Discord's having one of those days.
Did you hear what I said though, or did you disconnect?
I don't know, but for the sake of let's just try and repeat it.
Okay, well, basically, I just said that I haven't thought so much about Premium Plus because all my thoughts about SL and changes and improvements to the grid and to the world itself, to the platform, tend to be along the lines of things that I'd like to see happen for SL in general, not just limited to people paying for Premium or Premium Plus. So I haven't thought so much about Premium Plus features, to be specific.
I see.
What about you? What would you like to see?
I personally would like to see name changes be free, like one name change per year be free for premium users.
Did we lose you?
No, she's still thinking.
Yeah, sorry, just I other than that, I do hope that they add more tier, like double the tier, because that would be genuinely nice. I wouldn't mind paying for Premium Plus, to get like, so I could just, depending on how much it'll be, pay for like Premium Plus and get 2048 square meters of tier, and essentially, I really don't know exactly.
Uh,
It just leaves a lot of questions as to what Linden Lab can really offer, other than what we can expect already. Because it just, I know I'm meandering here, but the thing is, it's genuinely something that I'm wanting to see what Linden Lab does with. Because apparently they're eventually going to add this in, according to NaraPay, the Premium Plus and other premium offerings might be a la carte, which will allow people to pick and pay for what options they want, which is, suffice to say, is actually very interesting. And I would really like to see what they have on offer for that. But
I mean,
it's too soon to say.
It's too soon to say, but when you said about the name change, I kind of would like. This isn't again something specifically for Premium Plus, although I guess they could introduce this as like a feature. I would love it if some people could actually choose what their last name is going to be. Not, no, I mean not from a list, but I mean from
yeah,
like.
I mean, I've been asking for that for fucking years, and yet everyone either points me to the fucking corporate option, or just tells me to suck it up, Buttercup.
Exactly.
When it's absolutely fucking stupid. Why the hell should I have to pick from a fucking list?
Like that made sense in the beginning years when they actually, before they got rid of last names the first time, and then now that they brought it back, I feel like, and I think I've said this before, there's so many people like you and others who have through the display name feature have created their own last name, their own families, their own history with a particular name, and then asking them to like change their name to something else that's from a drop down list doesn't seem to make sense now that people have their names that they've actually used. Like, Hanamura isn't in the drop down list, but I imagine if you could actually change your, last name to one you would choose, I'm guessing you would use that instead of obviously the drop down list of names that you have no attachment to.
Mm-hmm. And I genuinely think that this is something that Linden Lab really needs to address, is that name change, like, it's not 2005 anymore. These names, the name system is outdated, and I hear people say, well, it's because of how the system is built. Well, here's the idea, genius. How about we have Linden Lab change it? Like, last time I checked, the last name system is based on an integer. Each name is associated with a 32-bit integer.
Oh, the UUID?
Not UUID. The last names are.
Oh, I don't know.
Are based on, if I recall correctly, some kind of integer, like a 32-bit integer. And I'm sitting here looking at this, and I am left wondering, well, why don't we just bump that up to 64-bit and let people choose their own names, as long as they're alphanumeric, or actually just alphabetical, rather, with probably options for, I don't know, you want to avoid the abuse of Unicode like we have with display names, which is a real big problem in Second Life, because people put Unicode text in their names,
And then some people can't read them.
unique or fancy, and in all reality it just makes them look like a fucking ass because I can't tell what their goddamn name is. It makes me feel like the people at NCI to keep calling me Rothgriff. Like, I'd rather be called Nodoka, thank you.
Yeah, because some people don't have like display names enabled because they figure, well, I can't read them anyway, so they just keep usernames on.
Yeah, and it's stupid. And I just want my freaking name changed. And I don't want to just pick out a... Because I've spent years as Nodoka Hanamura, why should I change my name to something from a list? And why should I have to stick with the name Resident?
Yeah, and that's exactly the point. It's like you've spent years as Nodoka Hanamura. A lot of people have spent years through the display name feature as their own identities, but now they're being asked to change. If they want an actual last name, they're being asked to change it to something that they have no connection to.
Exactly, and that's the complete fucking problem with this. And some people say, oh, well, it builds community. Well, here's the fucking problem with that. No, it fucking doesn't.
That
Just because we share a fucking last name doesn't mean I'm gonna be buddy with you or treat you like your fucking family. Like, I'm sorry if I'm being harsh here with that, but just like the only family I have in SL is the family that I've been with for years. The family that I have foregone having my name just be Nodoka Hanamura in world as my display name for, and that is New Vaughn. I've done that had a name as that for years, and while I do only go by Nodoka Hanamura online, I would be remiss not to show my appreciation for my SL family. Hence why I have that in my name. But to expect me and expect others to just say, well, why don't you just use one and try and mingle with others with that name? Like,
yeah.
That's like when someone. It's like if I like at work, if the roles are reversed. If I went to my job and I asked for a vanilla milkshake, and they said, well, everyone's got chocolate milkshakes. Why don't you just get a chocolate one? We
It's
don't have
not what
vanilla
you.
right now.
Yeah.
No, that's not how that fucking shit works, cocksucker.
Mm.
I mean, it used to be in the early days, I think, it worked a little bit differently. I mean, because then at least, everyone was choosing from a drop down list. You did have kind of, not necessarily families, but it did make things interesting sometimes when, like, certain people had the same last names, like, that weren't really related to one another at all, but you're like, oh, that Svarog family, for instance, they're so talented. I can think of, like, 3 famous Svarogs from back in the day, but I mean, we aren't in those early days anymore where we
It's
develop those
it's
kind
like
of
finding someone with
connections.
your. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I was
No, it's okay.
interrupting. Yeah, it's kind of like in that sense I can understand because it's like finding someone with your real life last name and it's like, oh, you so and so too. Oh, that's neat. But in the virtual space where you want to be, who you want to be, that sounds like, unnecessary. If
Exactly,
people
it's completely unnecessary. And the one thing that irks me more than anything is that if it's not the people telling me to suck it up, it's the people telling me that, oh, don't you know you can change your change your name to something that whatever you want as long as it's or something like that. And they point me to this wiki article in the Second Life wiki,
and
and
it's
every
outdated.
single time, no, it's not that it's outdated. It's that it doesn't apply to me. To get a custom last name like the ones that are offered, I have to pay $300 a month. I have to pay, and it has to follow certain guidelines.
Okay, wait. $300
Sorry,
linen dollars or actual $300?
yes, $300. That's so name change.
Oh no.
$40,
What the?
I think, to change it.
No,
Yo,
that's
I'm
in the list.
300
Oh wait,
actual
no, no,
dollars.
no.
Fucking.
You're talking about.
I, I hope I'm misunderstanding this because oh
Yes,
oh
the Linden Lab custom name program requires that you. If I can
Oh, I think I see what you're talking about. Is that still a thing?
Yes, upon creation of a custom surname, the account designated owner will be billed a $500 setup fee plus the first annual $500 fee. On every anniversary date, the owner will be billed $500 to retain custom surname ownership. Last names must clearly be an organizational or corporate name and distinguished from personal last names, surnames. For example, Smith is not acceptable. And people have been pointing me in the direction of this article without understanding in the slightest what in the fuck the issue is.
Like, fellow viewers, you cannot see this, but I am. In my face is that of severe desperation because holy fuck, that's a lot of money for something that's, you know, not that big of a deal.
$1,000.
As far as I know, this is specifically for
$1,000
like
for
corporate or
a last
educational
name.
like uses, so that multiple people, as far as I remember, this is specifically for those kinds of uses where someone's going to come in and they want like all their people to have a specific last name. So I think it's more like on the corporate or institutional level. It's not something they expect individuals to do.
Yeah, but that much money is just. It's just absurd.
It is. It's a joke.
Like if it,
And again,
like
I don't
if anything, it helps deter last names because nobody's gonna fucking pay that much money.
Well, again, that's just if you want to create your own last name, and again, it's for like institutional, and so you can. It's not to get a last name at all. Like you can still get a last name.
I'm just saying, like for the common Joe.
Yeah,
like if it's an
not meant for
institution,
the
they probably have the
common-
money to
common
back it
person.
up. But it should.
Yes, and there's no reason for this.
And like I say, this program is not an avenue for changing your current SL name. So this is specifically for people, like again, institutions who want to come in and
So-
new users with a specific last name. It's not this particular program isn't for people wanting to change their last name.
So Nodoka would be paying out the ass for essentially nothing. Jesus Christ.
And I couldn't even have the name I want because they wouldn't accept the name Hanamura. So not only is it expensive, it defeats the entire point of spending that money.
I much rather commit money laundry, to be honest. Like, fuck. Ugh.
I'd rather spend the $1,000 on fucking crystal meth.
We're getting slightly
Again,
off topic.
disclaimer. Good Morning Agni does not advocate for the drug use or illegal activities. Please, feds, do not shut down our channel. We need the money. Nikki needs the money.
What money?
We'll get.
Paid shit, genius.
We'll get the money. Just believe. There's 100 people that watched the first episode. Maybe they'll come back.
Very funny. Maybe you can rob the Lindens for their money, huh? How's that for a good thought?
Don't give me ideas. I will take them seriously.
Yeah, knowing you probably will.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that'll wrap it up for today's episode.
Yeah.
I'm Nodoka Hanamura, Queen of Battle for Boston Banter.
I am Rui Kirisame, the drunk freeloader. I can't word today. I'm Rui Kirisame, the drunk bunny, currently being a freeloader. Freeloader?
And I'm Erik Mondrian, and today is my 17th res day in Second Life.
Happy birthday!
Yay! Pachi pachi pachi!
One and all, and have a great day.